Welcome to the instant reaction part of UGA Sports, where we react basically to stuff, to news that just broke. Zayden Walker, the number 32 player in the nation, the number 2 overall outside linebacker, one of the top players in the state of Georgia, has just committed to the University of Georgia Bulldogs. It is a big deal. This was a major target for the University of Georgia. Glenn Schumann's one of his top priorities. I like where Georgia was with this. We've talked about him numerous times. Multiple guys in our staff had predicted that he would be in the signing class, or a lot of future casts in for him. And he just finished up an official visit to the university, or another visit to the University of Georgia. And Lance, now all of a sudden, Zayden Walker has committed to being a Georgia Bulldog. Are you on mute?
I was saying, yeah, that's a huge pickup. Obviously came not out of the blue, but a little sooner than I expected. But this was one like we've been talking about for a while. You know, about 6 or 8 months ago, there was some steam with South Carolina and Auburn. I believe he's got a brother that actually plays at South Carolina, so they were very much in the picture. But then as the kind of spring went along, Jed went to go see him a lot, and just the picture became a lot clearer that, you know, Georgia was going to be the top school for this kid, and it was going to be hard to beat. And, you know, just coming off another visit, you know, he commits, what is it, like 2-3 days later? Not even 3 days later. So this is a big commitment, and one that seems like it's, you know, I know it's only June, but this is one that I think is going to stick. I think he's pretty much Georgia through and through at this point.
Well, look at this from our man, Sam Spiegelman. He says, 6'3", 220-pound edge defender from South Georgia, wasted no time foregoing plans to officially visit Penn State, Miami, and also South Carolina. So as you basically said, he was looking, you know, there was that kind of hubbub about South Carolina. We heard some Miami talk. I've got nothing against Penn State and James Franklin. I was there at the throat-cutting gesture game at Vandy, you know, him and Ty Grantham going back. I think he's a good coach, decent recruiter, but you can pull a kid out of South Georgia at Penn State. Good luck.
Yeah,
good luck. Going head-to-head with Georgia, that is a tough one to do. Like Goat Dog says, got another cornbread-fed linebacker. Kids out of – again, Penn State's cool, but it's cold up there.
Yeah.
It's cold. So South Carolina, I'm with you, was a much better or much stronger likelihood.
Yeah.
But, you know, when our guys went in and said, no, he's coming to Georgia. So, again, not a surprise, but this is not what I was expecting to happen today.
Yeah. I mean, this, like I said, this one kind of I didn't expect it to pop, you know, at this time. And this is one of those that, you're not really surprised that, you know, like I said, that they ended up getting this kid. But I mean, I've watched this kid play live. Hell, Jed and I watched him. What was it, like last month, throw shot put and discus at the state track meet.
All about that.
Yeah, and he's just an absolute freak. He's built like a brick house, and he's fun to watch on the football field.
All right, so we know who he picked Georgia over, and again, if I'm going to pick Georgia every time against South Carolina. Don't mean that in a mean way. It's just Kirby Smart. What he's able to do there is, you know, going up against a former. You can say, look, this guy used to work for me, and he left under. We weren't buddies when, you know, the head coach of South Carolina left, so we beat him all the time. Good luck going there. Yeah, you'll get more playing time, but you know, how many guys do they put in the NFL? Same with Penn State. Same with Miami. Miami's been they could get their stuff together. Miami could be a strong team with all the talent in Florida. But we've been saying that for 2 decades now. So, so we know where he was, knew where he was likely going. But what is Georgia getting? And I like this thing from everybody, John Garcia. He says, you know, he's a little bit over 6'2", 220-pound frame, can add a lot to it. He's got a high floor as an impact linebacker, but the allure of utilizing him as a situational pass rusher or space playing outside, working outside, has to be appealing for this Bulldog coaching staff. I mean, everything that we've seen about this kid is that he's a 3-down player.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty high praise. And again, John doesn't blow these kids up. Now, folks that don't know John Garcia, he's been in our industry longer than I have. And John is brutally honest. And if there's a kid that he doesn't think can play, he'll tell you. When he comes out saying that, talking about natural athleticism, position versatility, he's not just hitting the bingo buzzwords on recruiting, fast twitch, quick off the line. He doesn't say all that garbage stuff. John nails, he knows he's going to get judged on this. We saw, what was it, on the dog vent right now, there's the White Sox, their synopsis of Chipper Jones, and it's just brutal, because that stuff's going to come out later. When John Garcia puts this out there and the kid falls apart in three years, somebody's going to send this to him, and so he's got to be honest about what he says, and you can't just hype up every kid and hope that you're right. So if John says this is a good kid, then I'm pretty damn impressed.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts? What is Georgia getting in him? You mentioned how he was built. How much is the inside, outside? We haven't listed as the outside linebacker, but
he's more. This is the interesting thing is like, if Glenn Schumann's his lead recruiter, and Glenn Schumann's the inside linebackers coach. I know he's the co-defensive coordinator, but like, this is a kid that I think is more of an inside linebacker. I've seen him slide out and play, on the edge and the exterior. But this is a kid that, kind of like not Raylan Wilson, C.J. Allen, not as big as C.J. Allen was in high school, but this is a kid that I think it's specifically in the interior part, in the linebacker portion of the defense. And Glenn Schumann is pretty high on this kid. I would say Georgia's still right now got Jaden Perlotti from Buford committed, but I see Jaden more of an outside run stopper. This kid's a run stopper, but this kid clog up the middle. Jaden get more run outside. This kid's fat. Zayden's fast, but this is a kid that I feel like it can, stick you home and, kind of be that run stopper up the gap.
Chris Ann says this is the only publication I've seen that calls him a 4-star and a 2-star to his position. Why? Well, we don't go by what other people say, and we are right more than any other recruiting outlets there is. Having it number 32 in the rankings means that he'll probably he very well could wind up being a 5-star.
Yeah, and likely a first-round pick.
Yeah, so when we say a kid is a 5-star, that means we believe that he will be a first-round NFL draft pick. Because you can go through and look at what do we say about 5 stars? What do we say about 4 stars? 4 stars could be all conference. These guys are an instant impact player at the next level. They're a starter in college. It's pretty good. So if you think about it, if anybody that we assume is we should average 32 NFL teams. We should average 32 5-stars. There's, here are the 32 players in this year's class that we think could be drafted or should be drafted after 3 or 4 years of college. Now, that is a tough thing to do out of 3 million players, 3 million high school football players, to pick the top 32. But when we'll notice at this point in the recruiting lifespan of this class, we still have their entire senior seasons to go. You'll see sometimes we only have like 20, 25, 26 5-stars. That 27 on, there's a whole miasma of let's see them a little bit more. Let's see if they have that first round mentality. It's not just, hey, let's rank them 1 to 32. And sometimes we have fewer. Sometimes we'll say, hey, we have 35 stars. Sometimes we have 34. You adjust it according to how many, who you think is has a legit shot in that class of being, a first round pick. So is he a first round guy? He's right on the cusp. We got him at 32. So let's get him at the 5-star challenge in Jacksonville. We're inviting the top 104 players to come down there and go head to head. We'll watch his senior tape. We'll watch him throw shot and track again, shot and disc again, and he will be evaluated. And if they think he's a 5, it's a lot easier to move a kid up to 5-star than to make him a 5-star and drop him.
Exactly.
We get so much shit for doing that. And I'm like, hey, the final rankings come out in February.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be a lot of that. Another thing that John Garcia says about Zayden Walker, excuse me, is talks about him being in, side to side speed, as you were mentioning, that he can get out there and move edge to edge. And that makes me think of Jalen Walker, because we had the question, who does he remind you of? I'm like, this is not seems a clone like that, but this is guy. Do you see the similarities, or am I reaching there?
Yeah, I mean, I see the similarities from with watching Zayden. I think they played Manchester last year, I believe, or the year before. I think it was the year before. Yeah, it was the year before. Watching him go up against Justice Terry was awesome. We'll have another conversation for another day. But he's long and he's lengthy, and this was when he was a sophomore. So, I saw him at that track meet, and he's just got like long arms, and he just wingspan is just incredible. And if you look at Jalen Walker, that's a guy that you take your arms and just wrap up, give you a bear hug, pick you up 35 yards back. His wingspans, it's probably one of the more underrated parts of his body
now,
or his physical stature.
We were talking on Monday about the possibility of getting some elite defensive players from the state of Georgia. We mentioned Elijah Griffin, that number 2 defensive tackle in the nation, big kid out of South Georgia. I just went today to see Justice Terry. Missed him by about 90 seconds. I'll see him tomorrow, hopefully. We'll get his update. Again, he's committed to USC. You're going to go see Isaiah Gibson, committed to USC, see what he thought of his visit. Zayden was just on the one. We actually called Zayden Walker, and we're like, hey, we want to come see you. And he's like, I'm out of town. Okay. Let us know when you get back into town. So we had plans to go see him this week, but apparently school's out. He's on vacation, I guess. Or
that's how it goes.
Or he knew this was coming and wanted to be a surprise. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate, but that, to me, getting Zaden Walker, who everyone knows is one of the top players in the nation. And if you read John Garcia and Sam Spiegelman, they talk about, look, he is one of the top players, regardless of position, regardless of defense. We got him in the top 32. That's, and again, he could move way up. It's possible. Guys can move down. It happens. But you're talking about one of the best players in the entire nation. If you get him on there, then you get Elijah Griffin. Isaiah Gibson sees that. Justice Terry sees that.
Yeah.
And they have a chance to do something pretty special. And again, John says that Zaden Walker could be one of the best that Glenn Schumann has brought in his tenure at Georgia. I'm like, wait a minute. Hey, John, you know who all they brought in?
Yeah, brought in C.J. Allen, brought in Roquan back in the day.
Wilson. Look what he's did with how many inside linebackers he had drafted?
Look at what he did with Channing Tindall.
Yeah. I'm like,
Kobe Dean.
Quay Walker.
The list just goes on and on.
He actually compared Zaden Walker to Quay Walker. Glenn Schumann did. So just stick with the Walkers. Hey, you remind me of Jalen Walker. You could be Quay Walker. Now I got Zaden Walker. It's Walker you. We talk about linebacker you, running back you. It's inside linebacker Walker you. I just love it.
You got another Walker coming in at running back, Bo Walker. So
that's true. What does this do for Tavion Wallace?
See, that's a question that I just answered over on the vault. It's been a hot button topic, especially on the vault, if Jaden Perlotti is going to end up at Georgia. I personally don't think he is. I think he's a great player, but I think that and Georgia could land all three. They could end up with two. Never how it is, but Tavion Wallace just changed his commitment date. I believe it was earlier this week from July. I think it was July 15th to July 2nd, and Georgia gets him in town in 2 days. So this is going to be a big push for Georgia. Of course, I went down to Wayne County High School 3 weeks ago today, and Glenn Schumann was there checking him out. spoke to Shu a little bit about him, and he's obviously if he was down there, that shows that Georgia really wants him. But this could they could make a major push. They could say, hey, come be the next South Georgia guy to commit and join these guys in this class.
If for folks who are listening to this on a podcast, I implore you, beg you to go check out the tape of Zayden Walker. We're watching it right now. This is his sophomore tape. This isn't even his junior film.
He's just so good.
And again, I make a joke about the cliches. Everybody who's good on defense, they always talk about, he's got a first step. But I mean, if you're watching this tape, he gets to the backfield as quickly as the ball does when he steps off the line. And he's just so much bigger than everybody else. I noticed 2 interceptions where he just comes off so fast. The quarterback's throwing it on a quick out, and he just intercepts it off the edge. It's just, and then you watch him line up in a 3 technique, pushes through 1, 2, 3, 4 guys to get to the quarterback. Because he's the biggest one out there, sometimes you play him down the line, but if you play him on the edge, I'm just saying that I don't know where he winds up, but I could see Glenn Schumann and Uzo Deribe. I don't want to say fighting. What, rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to find on my computer a picture that I've got of Zaden Walker that I'm going to put on Twitter of him just in his like track fit, and his arms are just huge. And I've also got one of him standing beside Kevin Wynn, who's another Georgia target local kid that I went to go see this week. And just like watching just Kevin Wynn, just big, his arms like this, and Zaden just kind of standing, not flexing, not really trying to, but I mean, just absolute 2 huge human beings.
I don't know if the Sacred Grove, he plays with criminal intent.
Yeah.
Don't know that that's PC, but yeah, he does play like he's trying to kill somebody. I like that they use him like Quintavious Johnson, right?
Yeah.
The offense isn't working. Hey, hand our best player the football. Oh, hey, look, we're in the goal line, red zone, 10 yards out. Direct snap it to him, and just that poor guard.
That's what Schley County did a lot of against Bowden 2 years ago in the state championship game, was when it wasn't working through the air. Schley County's a single A Division II school, and one of the smallest the smallest division in the state. They throw the ball over the yard, but when it's not working, they were handing it off to Zaden, for 2-3 yard gains, on 3rd and short.
Yeah, he's just doing that. Good. I love how he keeps his eyes up. He takes on blockers. He's peeking in the backfield. He's stacking, peeking. That's just anyway. This is a big get for the Georgia Bulldogs. Can't talk about. I can't really put it into words what his potential is. We have other people for doing that, but when you watch the tape, you can see why he was a must get for Georgia. Again, coming off of that big first official weekend, this is the first guy to pop out of that first big visits. Georgia hosts a bunch of uncommitted top targets this coming weekend as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what will we see out of that? No, we have speaking of this past weekend, we've talked to just about everybody. This was the one we couldn't get to because he told us he was out of town. So we're like, okay, well, we're going to come see you in person, and we will go see him. Hopefully we can get him on Monday's show. We're going to get him to, come on in. We'll get the backstory about why he picked all this and, why he did it when he did. But you got another weekend coming up this weekend full of top targets. They had 14 official visits last weekend, plus some other guys. They've had camps going on. This weekend could also be a big one. So we told you that June and July would dramatically change Georgia's recruiting class. Saw it last year. They had more commits at this point last year, but June and July were big. You said Tavion Wallace second, Justice Terry, Isaiah Gibson. They're committed elsewhere. Maybe they flip back after some of the visits that they've had. And shout out to the Georgia staff for getting this kid back on campus in a little over 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Justice Terry back and forth. Isaiah Gibson back and forth. Elijah Griffin could be in town this weekend.
No, I think his is at a later date. David Sanders is going to be in town this weekend. That's another,
Wasn't he just in town?
he was in town for the scavenger hunt two weeks ago. And I think he was in town with Mason Short too. I got that, saw them at the baseball game together. And then after the scavenger hunt and, Mason, I'm also told that Mason Short could be back in town, Georgia commit this weekend. So I think that those two are, he's a commit. So those two are really good friends. So, that strategy right there, could help Georgia because, for David Sanders, that's a kid that you want, like Elijah Griffin. He's not in state, but he's from North Carolina. But you've got all these other schools, vying for his attention: Ohio State, Clemson, Tennessee. He's always felt like a Georgia lean to me, but we shall see. But getting him back on campus 2 times in a month is huge.
Yeah. Dr. Phenomenon says, "Let me know when he signs." You can approach it that way, but
Yeah.
you really think that Miami, Penn State, or South Carolina is going to be able to flip this kid away from Georgia? I just don't see it.
Especially a defensive kid too.
Yeah, exactly. And with the success they've had getting linebackers into the NFL, I just don't see it happening. So again, yeah, things can happen. Crazier stuff have happened. We saw a kid move from Arizona to Buford to be close to Georgia to come to as many practices as possible, and they wound up playing in Nebraska. Things happen. But this is a kid. His entire community is going to be thrilled the fact that he's playing at Georgia. He can play in front of his folks, in front of his friends and family. I just don't see this going. And again, it's not like you got a gimme out of South Georgia. This is a kid who everybody in the country wants.
Yeah.
And again, we have him at number 32. Could easily be a 5-star. Again, and it's probably a situation where you mentioned, he's playing at a very small school. Again, he's throwing these kids around, but it's not like he's, playing 7A football. So you have to take that slowly, because a lot of times kids like this, they look like monsters on the field. They get that speed, but again, it's not against the greatest competition. So it'll be a situation where he'll probably go to get him to come to the camp in Jacksonville. Let's see him going up against some of the best players in the nation, or let's see his senior season when all the schools, double, triple team him, and he throws them around as well. Or let's see him at the Under Armour game in Orlando in December. And it's like, okay, yeah, he just faced the best. He faced a David Sanders. He faced a great left tackle. He just blew right past him. This is a kid who will be able to do that throughout his collegiate career. So right on the cusp of 5-star, very high up there. And the fact that Georgia gets him, it just, each one you get, and unless it's somebody at the same position, but it makes it so much easier to have, like you said, Mason Short talking to David Sanders saying, look, it's good enough for me. Everybody in the country wanted me. You come play with me. I can see Ethan Barber, the tight end commit, coming back into town because he's been very vocal trying to get these kids to come in. I can see Ryan Montgomery working them, saying, come on, David Sanders, be a part of it. And each time you get one of these kids, it builds the class and makes something special, and you get more of them. It builds on itself. So anyway, any last thoughts there, Lance, before we let you go?
I just think that this is one I think that this just might be the tip of the iceberg. I'm not saying Georgia's going to get another commit tomorrow, but I think that July and this month are going to be pretty fun if you're a Georgia fan.
And we had a lot of questions. Who's next? We got some theories there, but we know of a couple silent commits. We don't know when they're going to pop, but sometimes it just happens, like Zayden Walker. So we'll see. I think we'll hold that. That'll be a good question for Monday night. We'll post out there who's next, because that would be after week 2 of official visit season. We'll have that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I see your photo, Lance.
Yeah. You want to pull it up for right before we leave?
Good God. Yeah. Just move him to 5-star. Screw it.
Yeah. I was sitting there trying to find it quickly, but glad I
Rising senior.
had it on my hard drive.
Look at that traps.
Yeah, I mean, just his biceps and just I think funny enough, he plays fifth in the state, and Kevin Wynn was like third. So those are two big dudes, but they had even bigger dudes that are just not really playing college football in front of them. So I mean, but still, that's super talented.
I'll tell you, the last guy I saw look like this throwing shot. His name is Zayden Walker. And look at that grip.
Yeah,
You placed with that garbage grip, man. That's just athleticism. I did shot discus, man, and I'd get out there and I would do my throws, and then we'd have some behemoth like him come out there, just like throwing like a damn baseball, whip past my best by 2 feet. I'm like, you son of a gun. I hated it. I hated those just freakishly good guys. For me, it was all technique. These guys are just this lead weight.
It's not fair.
Hey, first place. And speaking of Curtis Baxman 51 says this is the beginning. Can't wait to see what happens over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. Sam Spiegelman said that he, in his little write-up there, that maybe Zaden Walker claimed his spot. Now, I think Zaden could have gone anywhere he wanted to. But I could definitely see a situation where Georgia's like, look, so we were talking about this with wide receivers. There's 2 guys they obviously want, and Travis Smith. We got an update coming on him. CJ Wiley, who visits this weekend, and then about 9 guys for maybe 1 more spot.
Yeah.
They turned away one kid that tried to commit earlier, and at the wide receiver spot, because they said, look, you need to come camp, and he didn't camp. They're like, okay, sorry. So he's going to wind up going elsewhere. I don't see a Zaden Walker saying, look, I mean, he's going to have a spot regardless, but I can see them saying, look, you're coming here. You had a great visit. Just pull the trigger. Let's get this out of the way. And then you don't have to get 70,000 phone calls a week. So,
yeah.
Repeat, if you would, the classification for Schley County.
Class A Division II. It is the smallest in the state, but I mean, the competition's good, and Schley County's a legit football team that and like I said, if you missed it, his brother, I think he's got 1 brother or a cousin at Auburn, and then he's got his brother, half brothers to South Carolina. So, I mean, that's, it's a good school.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for this particular reaction show. We would appreciate it if you'd hit the like button or hit the subscribe button. It would mean the world to us. We're trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. That's just our new goal. We want to get there. We did 47. Now we want to get to 50. So hit us up when you get a chance. We will. And hey, if somebody else commits, we'll jump on and do a new show. We'll talk to you later. Take care.